My name is Terrance Jones. I am 43 years old. I am a studio engineer, live drummer, DJ, all of everything music I do. I have two children, 9, 22. I am married, raising my 9-year-old. My 22-year-old son, of course, he's grown, but raised him as a single father, partially, and married partially.
So, TJ, um, Terrence,
No, TJ's cool.
okay. What does being a father mean to you?
It means pouring into my kids things that I don't feel like I never received, um, and trying to teach them to do better than what I could ever be. Being nurturing, um, being there for them, um, trying to direct them in the path that they should go.
So tell me, what is your relationship like with your father, or was like with your father?
What was my relationship like with my father? Um, my relationship with my father wasn't really there. Um, I can really count pretty much on one hand how many times I've actually seen and talked, had a full fledged conversation with him throughout my 43 years of life. He passed away in May. Didn't really have a full relationship with him.
So, how do you think that relationship or lack of relationship with him impacted your life?
How do I think it impacted my life? It impacted it the older I got, the more I realized how much it impacted my life. Just the way I was raising my son, the way I felt about certain things, a lot of my anger, a lot of the way I treated people stemmed from that relationship. Because of course, as a son, you always want that father figure there. A lot of times, because I didn't have it, I lashed out on certain things. But as far as a father, I don't think it really impacted me in a negative way because I always wanted to do better than what he did for me.
So, how old were you when you had your first child, and what was that experience like?
How old was I when I had my first child, and what was that experience like? Well, I was 20, going on 21 when I had my first child. The experience was scary, mainly because, again, I only knew, what I saw others do for their kids. I never knew what it was like to have my father do something for me. So initially, I was nervous because I wasn't with the mother. That's what the initial situation was. But after that, once I got over it and saw that I had like my grandfather, my uncle, and all these other guys around me to kind of help guide me in the ways that I need to go, it kind of got easier. It's never been super easy, but it got a lot easier because I had those guys that were excellent fathers to kind of just lean on when I had an issue. I had a brother in LA that's in LA now, Aaron Lindsay. I could call him. He's an excellent father. He travels the world, but he's always still there with his kids. So I learned from him. Am I perfect with it? No, not by any means. I don't think anybody is, but we just do our best. And yeah,
Has custody or child support impacted your relationship with any of your kids?
has custody or child support impacted my relationship with any of my kids? My 9-year-old daughter, no, of course, because I'm married, so I don't have to deal with that. But my son, yes, it very much did impact it. Mainly because we weren't together, and I think that was the bulk of it. I attempted to be with her, um, and by the time she came back around, I just really wasn't having it. So I just said, figure we can just do co-parenting. That didn't work. We tried to be back together, didn't work. So it just became a issue to where couldn't see my son, um, and became a breaking point. So I was like, look, I don't know what else to do. Um, the courts became prevalent in the situation, which made it even more worse dealing with that. So yes, I had to deal with him, but did it make it? Mm, I would say yes. It did. It impacted it heavy. Yes. Yes.
So, you were a relatively young father, 2021. Did you have a support system to help you as a father?
Oh yeah. I definitely did. Like I said, my uncle James Jones played a huge part in me being a father. My whole Jones side is my family. Because I just know we're close knit. Um, my grandfather, late Reverend Charlie Jones, he was the epitome of a great father. I mean, he fathered so many just kids on the streets, kids at the church, his kids, grandkids, great grands. He was just that guy. So he was a great example for me to kind of watch. And he also poured into me when I had my son. I was happy he got a chance to meet my daughter before he passed away. And so, we always had talks about one thing he would always say is um the moment that you feel, even with marriage, the moment that you feel like you know your wife all the way, start over. The moment that you feel you've done great raising your child, start over, because something's going to happen to change your perspective, and you don't want to get stuck in that one thing.
What do you enjoy most about being a father?
I'm goofy, man. So just I enjoy. Well, let me be serious first. I enjoy watching my kids go from here to here to here, and just watching them grow into their own. Like that's just seeing like pieces of me, like in my daughter, and then seeing pieces of my wife, and then sometimes just seeing them come together, and just being in awe of like how beautiful she is, how she's growing up, how she's a dancer, a musician, she can sing, she's smart in school, she's good with math, she's good with English, science, she loves science, all these things. But on the goofy side, just we just have fun. Like we prank each other. um she's a jokester like me, she loves laughing. And we just have fun.
So, in what ways did becoming a father change you?
In what ways did becoming a father change me? It made me more sensitive. In a good way. It made me um I'm not all the way there, but it actually made me more attentive to my wife. Um because I saw like some of the things that my wife was asking of me, I saw it in my daughter, which in turn made me circle back and be like, man, like I needed to do this for my wife. And then on the flip side of that, my wife gets on me all the time about, you're paying too much attention to your daughter. Like, and I'm like, I never would have thought in a million years that I would be this guy. Like, I would cry, versus laughing at somebody. I would cry, or me holding on to a little girl and just looking at her and tearing up, like just holding on to a person and just being in awe, and just looking. I'm like, man, this is something that we created. This is something that I helped create, and this is what it is. It just made me more sensitive and more alert to feelings.
So, what was one of the hardest moments you had being a father, and why was it hard?
What was one of the most hardest? Repeat the question.
Yeah, what was one of the hardest moments you had as a father, and why?
One of the most hardest moments I had is being a father, and why? I'm actually still going through it. A few years back, me and my son, he was living with us, and I'm being fully transparent here. But he was living with us, and around Thanksgiving, around this time, about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and his mother had just returned, just to keep that out. She kind of returned back into his life, and of course, he's a son, so he loves his mother, and I never ever ever want to take that away from him. But it was always, when she returned, I would always tell him like, "Hey, you want to go see your mom?" Because he's living in Detroit, and she was living in Atlanta. So yeah, you want to go see your mom? No, I'm good. You want to go see your mom? I pay for the ticket. No, I'm good. You want to go see your mom? No, no, no. So fast forward to this time 4 years ago. Finally, he wanted to go see his mother. I guess she paid for the ticket. Um, and I'm like, cool. When is the flight? When is your returning flight? I don't know. I don't know. So it became an issue. I don't know. I'm coming back. And he just kept saying, I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. Fast forward, he didn't come back. He never showed me his return flight. And we got into a heated argument over the phone. Um, to where I was literally about to jump on the same day flight and go down and lay hands on him. Like we were gonna have, because he was grown at this time. He was 18. So it was 4 years ago, yeah. And it got to that point to where like, all right. I gotta when I get off this plane, either we gonna talk like men or you gonna get a whooping like a little boy. It's gonna be one of the two. But didn't do that. And we just had like a weird relationship since then. I still love him to death. I hope he still loves me. We talk here and there, but that's still an ongoing situation. Um, that it still bothers me. I actually went to therapy to kind of talk about it. Because I didn't want to come off as the dad that, abandoned his child, even though he's grown, that abandoned his child because he's always going to be my son. Um, but I just want to make sure that I wasn't doing anything wrong, that I was doing everything in my power to still try and be there for him. Well, of course, with him being grown and having his own feelings without me forcing myself on him. So that's that.
Have you ever felt unappreciated as a father?
Um, Before my daughter, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Have I ever felt unappreciated as a father? Yes. Before my daughter, yes. And mainly because of the situations I was talking about earlier, not being able to see him, being talked about, uh, being called every name in the book for just trying to be there, whether it was financial or whatever. But as of now, my wife does a great job of showing me, hey, you're doing great, you're doing good. Even when I do feel like, hey, I could be doing more. She's like, no, 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 no. Your daughter loves you. Your daughter adores you. Like they say she's my twin. She's like, every time I look at her, I see you. And our daughter wants for nothing. Our daughter's always smiling. Our daughter's like, she reminds me, my wife reminds me constantly how good of a father I am. And I really appreciate it for that.
Last question. What advice would you give to a new father?
What advice would I give to a new father? Never stop trying. Never stop. Never feel like you're not doing good enough. If you do happen to feel that way, push. Just keep going. Even when they get grown, when they get older, when they get 22, 25, whatever the case may be, always contact them. Let them know, hey, tell them constantly. I'm making my business to tell my daughter every time I talk to her, whether I'm scolding her, whether we're laughing, joking, I tell her, hey, I love you. Um, Let them know that there's no, especially when they're younger, there's nobody that's going to do more for you than your parents are, than your dad, especially if you have a little girl. Hey, there's nobody's going to do more for you than your father is. That way they'll grow up and know that, hey, that's my superhero.